Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Wow. It's interesting. I was standing backstage, and I was talking with Jordan in the backstage, and we were talking about doing this, and I said, it's interesting because 30 years of being involved in the industry, coming to do something like this, speak at something like this, you go through a roller coaster of emotions. You've got Mel Robbins, professional speaker, you've got Tony Robbins, you've got Sir Richard Branson, and then you have an average person with above average desire, right? That wants to earn an above average income. And Jordan was saying, well, what, do you get nervous? And I said, yes, you do. I mean, you certainly do. You go through all kinds of ups and downs and emotions. And, one of the things that's helped me that I'll share with you is if you're in your head, you're dead. If you shift from your head to your heart and you ask God to flow through you and give you the words to serve the room, and it has emotional sincerity and it's from the heart, you can never go wrong. Thank you. So, it's interesting. I saw a statistic that they had a thing where the top 10 fears that people have in life. And I saw, when I was looking through the top 10 fears, what do you think the number one fear people have in life? Speaking in public. And as I looked down the list, number 7 was dying. People would rather die than speak in public, by the way. It's funny. So let me just do this. I want to share with you guys a couple things. For me, I got started back in 1987. I was a 24-year-old ex-broke waiter. Has anyone ever been a waiter before? Has anyone ever been broke before? Can you relate to that? Well, I found myself where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was behind on my bills in life, my promises in life, to myself, to my friends, to my family, and I was looking for some things to change in my life. And I met this guy named Jim Rohn. Has anybody heard of a guy named late, great Jim Rohn? And Jim said to me, he said, Jeff, you can, for things to change in life, you've got to change. And for things to get better, you've got to get better. And he said, you can have more in life if you become more in life. And don't see things the way they are, but the way they can become. And I heard that, and I started listening to a little bit of Jim. And I also met this guy, anybody heard of a guy named Zig Ziglar, good old boy Zig? And I met this guy, Zig Ziglar, back then, and he said, Jeff, you can, if you help other people get what they want in life, you'll have everything you want in life. And so I was very fortunate. I worked several different jobs. I graduated high school, and I was a waiter. I was mowing lawns. I was cleaning pools. I worked construction. Very hard worker, great work ethic. No matter what I did, I took pride in it and had a really good work ethic. How many of you have a great work ethic no matter what you do in life? So you show up with that work ethic. But I never had an opportunity until a friend of mine shared with me a product. And I thought, wow, this product makes sense. I was a customer first. I saw merit and value in the product. And as a satisfied customer, he invited me to come out to a meeting. I live in Sarasota, Florida, and there was a meeting that was up in Tampa, Florida. And I went up to the meeting, and that night I heard stories of average people earning these above average incomes, and people that were out there being their own boss and earning what they were worth and taking self-responsibility for their own financial future. And I went home from that meeting and I thought, wow, this is my chance. Well, my very first month in the business, my sponsor quit. He quit the business. Remember Eric last night talking about your obstacles are your opportunity, your obstacles are your gift? I thank him today for introducing me, but also the fact that I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't look up line. I didn't look down line. I looked in the mirror. The number one recruiting tool in this business is a mirror. And I said, if it's to be, it's up to me. So I said, okay, I'm going to step up and be the best distributor in my organization. I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to hold myself accountable. You know, in this business, distributors do not what you tell them to do, they do what you do. Would you follow you? Your daily method of operation, your work ethic, your consistency of effort and attitude, your focus on the paying activities. Watch the feet, not the lips. Are you the type of person that would inspire someone else? Success breeds success. Well, my very first conference that I went to, I went up to, I was in Sarasota, Florida. There was a convention that first month that was up in Asheville, North Carolina. And I didn't have the money for a hotel room. I didn't have the money for the plane ticket. You know, I was, when I started the business, it was out of desperation. I was looking for some things to change in my life financially. Today, it's a totally different reason. It's out of inspiration, to pay it forward, to never forget where you came from. But that very first conference, I'll never forget, I drove up to that convention. And, you know, all excuses are equal. All distractions are equal. I drove up to that conference, slept in my car, went to the gym, worked out, took a shower, put on the one suit that I owned, the little skinny tie, had longer hair there back then. It was still wet. I'm sitting in the front row, and I was moved emotionally. The stories that I heard. And I remember just sitting in the room with just chills going through my body. And I got back in the car. And after the convention was over, and I turned on the radio, and I was literally crying tears of joy, thanking God for answering my prayers, that this was my chance. This was my chance to step up. And I remember getting home, and I was sitting up that night, and I tore up that list of excuses. Oh, you're in your early 20s. Your sponsor quit. The meeting's up in Tampa back then. If you weren't in their organization, it was a closed meeting. You couldn't go to the meeting. Your obstacles are a gift, right? An opportunity to grow. It made me who I've become today. So I said, you know what, Jeff? It's time for you to step up. You've got that burning desire, that willingness to work. You're teachable. You're hungry. And go out there and lead. Not push people, but lead. So I came home and I tore up that list of excuses and went to work and started doing the basics, the fundamentals. You know, learned a few skills, started feeding my mind every day. You know, what are you listening to? What are you reading? Who are you spending time with? And that first year, a broke 24-year-old ex-waiter with no upline, no sponsor, said, okay, I'm going to step up. And I remember Jim Rohn talk about talk to 2 a day or 3 a day, you know, that a few simple disciplines could equal multiple rewards. Well, that first year I averaged close to 30 people a day I talked to, almost 10,000 people that first year. I was doing presentations, 3, 4, 5 presentations every day, all out massive action. And all of a sudden this thing started to grow. It started to take off. Listen, you're rewarded in public for what you do in private. People see the success today, but the effort, the amount of effort that was put in, it's a simple business, but it's not an easy business. It requires some effort. You know, you've got to pay the price. No one can lift your weights for you. So with that, I got started and got off to a really fast start that first year. And back then, you know, the how part of the business, figuring out, you can learn the skills. And what Eric and Marina have provided here, a learning environment where you can grow and learn the skills, is amazing. The strategies, you can grow as a person. But the how part is just one part of the business. The other part you really got to get clear on is, why are you doing the business? Why? Why are you doing it? Reasons come first. Get a reason. A why that is emotionally charged. Something that has a compelling future. How about a why that if you peel the layers of the onion, it's a why that makes you cry. Something that moves you emotionally. Something that's going to get you up early, keep you up late, put in that extra 10% effort that'll produce 90% of the results, something that's emotionally charged. Well, for me, back then, I didn't come from a wealthy family. I'm the oldest of 3 boys. And I'll never forget as a kid sitting in the back seat of my mother's car as a kid. And my mom was a proud mom, but it wasn't the nicest car. It had dings on it. It had rust on it. Sitting in the back seat, the seat was ripped. The smell of the car. And she acted like she wasn't embarrassed, but I could tell deep down inside, it hurt. And I'll never forget when I got into this business, I said, you know what? If someday, if I could, I would, I'd like to help my mother and father. Or if I could, I would, I'd like to be able to do this for my grandparents. Or if I could, I would, I'd like to be able to do this for my favorite charities. So I had a why that was emotionally charged. So after going to work those first few years and building the business and consistently reinvesting back into the business and not getting distracted and staying focused, and I understood, Jeff, you could compress a lifetime of work into a 3 to 5 year effort. So with that why, the first thing I was able to do after a few years of building the business, it wasn't going out and getting a car for myself. It wasn't buying a home for myself. The first thing I did is I went out and bought my mother the car of her dreams. And when I bought this car, I found out what if she could have any car she wanted. Well, the first thing I found out is my mom had really good taste when it came to cars, by the way. So I go out and I'm in a position, I built a business now, that I could pay cash for this car. And not only do I get the car of her dreams without her knowing, I put in all the bells and whistles, all the options on this car. I mean, it's amazing. I get the gas card, I paid for the insurance. And on Christmas morning, I go up, she lives up into the mountains. I've got the car sitting outside her home. And I got a big red bow on the hood. And the morning dew's on the car. And the sun's coming up over the mountain and it's shining on this car. It was just beautiful. And I remember my mom coming to the door. And I open the door. And there's my mom standing there. And I hand her the keys. She sees me. She sees the car. I hand her the keys. And tell her how much I love her. And I see tears of joy coming down her face. I thought I was the one that was giving. The floodgates were open. I was the one that was receiving. To be able to do that. And it was just so powerful to be able to have something like that you could do for your mother. I mean, how many of you would like to be able to do that for your mother? How many mothers would like your son to do that for you by a show of hands? Well, a few years later, I don't know how many years it was after that, maybe 5, 10 years later, my mom's at a convention. She's sitting up in the front row. There's thousands of people at the conference up close in the convention. And you get a chance to acknowledge your mom in front of everyone, you take it, right? And I say this, I'm telling this story, you know, and she comes up, I have her up on stage, and I give her some flowers, and I play the music, get the hug. She goes back. I think she's so proud of her son, Jeffrey, right? Well, after the convention, she grabs me and she goes, you know, Jeffrey, actually when she's upset, it's, you know, Jeffrey Douglas, I wish you wouldn't tell that story. You make us sound like we were so poor. And she goes, by the way, that car now is almost 10 years old. And she goes, and it's a 2-wheel drive, it's a little slippery in the snow. And she goes, and one other thing, don't forget you only have one mother. I said, well, I can't afford 2 the way this is going. So I share that story with you because what is your why? the how part is one part of the business, but why are you doing it? Find something that's emotionally charged for you that's going to keep you up early or keep you up late, get you up early. The other story that affected me, that shaped me, I lost my father back then in his 40s, massive heart attack. I get a phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning. He's gone. That's it. No second chance. It was the absolute worst day of my life to get this phone call. Gone. 46 years old. But I decided one thing, that I was going to turn the worst day of my life into the best day of my life. Because it's not the event, it's the meaning you give it. It's not what happens in life, it's what you do with what happens in life. Right? So I said, you know what, I'm going to give this a different meaning. Something, meaning equals emotion. Emotion equals the quality of your life. And I said, you know what, Jeff, give this an empowering meaning and grow and become more and have more capacity to serve and help other people. Take the deepest pain of your life and grow from it. Where do you live emotionally? I still experience negative emotions, but I've figured out how to compress the time. Things that maybe bothered me for 2 or 3 weeks, I got it down to 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 minutes, and now sometimes it's only 20 or 30 seconds. Compress the time. So I use that obstacle or that deepest pain as a chance to grow and become more and play even at a higher level. The other thing I'll share with you is this. People say, well, why are you here today, Jeff? Why are you and Joanna here today? We don't have to be here. It's not out of desperation like it was in the beginning. It's out of inspiration. To never forget where you came from. To never forget, thank you. To never forget, Jeff, when you filled out your application and it was your first event. How many of you, this is your first event, by show of hands or round of applause here at this GoPro Recruiting Mastery? Let's hear it. Look at all these people. So it was a chance to say, okay, I can pay it forward. I can, never forget when I filled out my application. Life's not about me, life's about we. To be able to pay that forward, to make an impact, to make a difference. There's people that have money. How many of you know people that have money, but they're not a happy person inside? They might have the success, the achievement, but they don't have the fulfillment, the meaning, the purpose. Here, you've got the science of achievement, but you've also got that art of fulfillment. And for me, I decided that I was going to retire into my business instead of out of my business. And to be able to keep serving and playing at a higher level and helping other people. Listen, you'll hear Tony tonight. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure in life. Love what you do and add value to people's lives. When you have something you truly love, then you're filled up emotionally and spiritually. You're rich in relationships. You're rich in love and connection and growth. Aren't you the happiest in life when you're growing? Growth equals happiness. Progress equals happiness. When you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. That was supposed to have been funny, by the way. I'll scratch that one off. But no, you want to keep growing and then to contribute. One of the most rewarding things is to bring a new person into the business and to believe in that person sometimes more than they even believe in themselves, and put your time and your effort and your money into that person and to help them, and then to see them a few years later come across the stage, and it's not the money, it's not the position, it's who they've become, and for them to say thank you for believing in me, thank you. It's like the Visa commercial. It's priceless when you can play at that level and have an impact in somebody else's life. So the reason we're here today is we get to be involved in something that's bigger than yourself, doing something that counts, something that matters, something where you can make a difference and impact and play at a higher level. So for me, it's very rewarding. Beyond the money, it's out of inspiration today and paying it forward. The other thing I'll share with you is this. A couple success principles. People say, well, Jeff, how did you build this? How did you do this? What did you do? Look, you've got it. There's three parts to the business. There's your product or service. There's your marketing system and how you market, your marketing opportunity. But the biggest variable is the you part. Working on you, your belief, your skills, your level of confidence, having that showing up with absolute certainty. Being somebody that success breeds success. Having that position of strength, that voice of authority. You want to have that when you're around people. And then having a servant's heart. Where, people don't care how much you know until what? They know how much you care. And they truly believe that you have their best interest at heart. Three things I focus on in the business. Number one is going out there and meeting other people's needs. Not my needs, their needs. Caring more about your customer and the results they get on your product, the fortunes in the follow-up, more so than the money you're earning. Caring more about your new team member and helping them get off to a fast start and their success, more so than the income you're earning. You go into a relationship to give, not to get. You're not measuring what you get in return. And if you have that type of mindset, because it's 80% mindset, psychology, 20% mechanics. If you truly go out with that type of servant's heart, and listen, the longest journey in life is from here to here, from the head to the heart. It's not when I go out there, who can I sell or who can I recruit? Who do I love? Who do I care about? Going out there and putting other people's needs ahead of your own. Number two, adding value to their lives. That value could be through your product or your service, or that value could be helping them not only take control of whatever that is, your product or service, but also taking self-responsibility for their own financial future. And then the third thing I do consistently every day is personal development. Feed the mind. Feed the mind, always growing, that personal development. One of the things that I wanted to share from last night was, when you hear all this talk about the money and this and that, that's not what it's about, guys. It's not about that. It's about relationships. It's about going out there and growing as a person. It's about putting other people's needs ahead of your own and adding value to their lives. It's about those type of things that really matter. The other thing I'll share with you is this. I'll never forget when I met Jim Rohn. He was talking about, what do you do consistently every day? You don't have to do 1,000 things well. You have to do a handful of things 1,000 times over and over again. A few simple disciplines equal multiple rewards. What is your job description? You're going out and getting customers. You're going out and getting new team members. You're building for events. One event to the next. You build for major impending events. You learn how to master big events like this, non-negotiable paying activities. And of course, the personal development consistently every day. The other thing I'll share with you, I got so many notes here I pulled out of my journal that I want to share, is what can get you? What can cause you to fail in this business? And some of the things that really helped me in the beginning is how to discipline your disappointments, how to get past some of these limiting beliefs, how to get past some of the negative self-talk. And one of the things that I found when I first got started is, how many of you out there have any negative family members? Anyone other than me? My mom's still waiting for me to get a real job, by the way. But no. You get people, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your family members, people that are close to you, they want to rain on your parade. They want to tell you your product's no good, your opportunity's no good, or you're no good. They want to hold you back. Here's a great word to get in your notes. Next. Next. Say less to more people. Don't focus on the ones you can't sell. Focus on all the ones you can't see. Jim Rohn talks about there's a thing called safety in numbers and the law of averages. Anyone a baseball fan? Anybody know what baseball is in the room? Baseball, right? Baseball. In baseball, They go up and they get paid to swing the bat, right? They don't have to bat 1,000%. They can go up and swing the bat and strike out 7 out of 10 times and still make $4 million a year. So you don't have to bat 1,000%. You don't have to, it's safety in numbers, the law of averages. The other one I'll share with you is this. How many of you have people in your organization you feel like you're always pushing them? You want it more for them than they want it for themselves. Anyone? It's easier to give birth than raise the dead. It really is. Go get some new blood. Go get somebody that's got a fresh, warm market, a good, positive attitude, right? You can't lift their weights for them. So those are just a couple things. The other one is, I had one of my new people say to me, she goes, Jeff, Mr. Excitement, Mr. Positive, I can't get anyone to buy the product. And I said, okay, is there anything else I can help you with? She goes, did you not hear me? She goes, I can't get anyone to buy the product. I said, okay, is there anything else I can help you with? She goes, are you making fun of me? I said, no, you just told me you can't get anyone to buy the product. Well, you guys know the power of positive thinking, right? What you put out there, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I had another lady, she goes, I'm a happy person, Jeff. I said, you might want to tell your face that. I wouldn't buy it from you, right? So you gotta, you heard John Addison last night talk about smile. Put a smile on your face, right? Lighten up and your sails will brighten up. The other thing I'll share with you is this. Back in 2012, I had a major health scare. I got a bacteria that had gotten into my body, and it was a 911. I was in ICU, and I thought everything was great in life. I was King Kong, top of the world, and all of a sudden, God can humble you. God can strike you off your horse with a bolt of lightning. And I found myself in a very interesting situation where here I am in the hospital and it doesn't look like I'm going to live. And what happened is sometimes you don't realize how important things are until you don't have it, until you don't have your health. The other thing is my priorities in life were off. And when you're in that type of situation, you get really clear on your priorities in life. Number one is your spiritual life. Number two is your family life. Business was still important, but it wasn't number one anymore. And then we all have our groups and our cultures and our organizations and our companies. I found that wow, because we always say we're the company with the heart and we're a family. The amount of love and prayers and support that came in, I truly believe played a big difference in saving my life when I was in the hospital. The other thing is when God gives you a second chance, you don't take it for granted. Well, I survived that. But I couldn't travel that first year after I survived. And the doctor said, look, Jeff, you've got to stay on the sidelines for a year. We don't want you traveling. Your vital organs to heal. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in my office and Joanna came in and she goes, what's wrong? And I was in massive pain. I was crying. I was just such negative emotions. And I was sitting there and I was so upset. And she goes, what is it? What's wrong? And I said, and it was 25 years I'd never missed one of our conventions. And I couldn't go. There was one in Europe and there was one in the United States. And I told her, I promised those people I would be there for them. And they're going to be walking the stage. And I can't go. And I said, you know what, Jeff, you're better than this. A better quality question will give you a better quality answer. And I was like, what else could this mean? How can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? What other spiritual lessons can I get from this? And I started asking better quality questions. And I started to change the meaning. And it went from all these negative emotions to love and gratitude and appreciation. And I thought, I get it. I'll never take another conference for granted again. Because when you don't have it, it's taken away from you. Then you realize how much love and connection and growth and contribution and relationships that our business is rich in. How Tony talks about those six needs and the two spiritual needs, growth and contribution, how our business is so rich in that. So I took my deepest pain and grew from that again. My friend Stuart sitting in the front row here. Last April, I was privileged enough to come to his Success University, the Academy, and I heard Mel talk about this 5-second rule. And here I am, Jeff Roberti, the top distributor in our company. We're in the health business, and I'm showing up to conferences, and I had put on over the last 10, 12 years, I put on 5 pounds a year for a 10, 12-year period. And I show up, I'm not an example, I'm a warning. I'm not walking the talk. I got people coming up to me at conferences going, Jeff, how's your health? Jeff, how you feeling? Jeff, how you doing? I know what they're saying. Dude, you look like shit. You need to get some weight off, right? I mean, I know what that meant. And I found myself, I hear Mel talking about this 5-second rule. I come back home from that conference that we had that same month, and I meet with my cardiologist. And he has known me for over 20 years. He goes, Jeff, I've known you for over 20 years. I know what you used to look like. Your father in his 40s, heart disease. Your brother died in his 40s, massive heart attack. He goes, it's not if, it's when. You're a walking time bomb if you don't get this weight off. And I started to think about, wow, there was all of a sudden some leverage. And I started thinking about what Mel said when I went there. And I said, you know what, Jeff? It's time for you to step up and take self-responsibility. It's time for you to raise your standards. Your financial mastery's going well, your spiritual, emotional, relationships. But what about your physical mastery? Why not step up? And there was enough leverage. There was enough consequences. There was that, you kind of just reach a moment in time, a defining moment. Enough's enough. Like there's a threshold, a breaking point. And I remember going home that night, and I'm sitting in my office, and I'm looking at a picture of my brother, and I'm looking at a picture of my dad. And I'm thinking of the pain that my mom went through burying my brother. And I was like, Jeff, I didn't do it out of vanity. Number one, I did it because I wanted to live. But number two, I wanted to show up as a better version of me as an influencer so I could influence and make a bigger difference and a bigger impact in other people's lives. And what a rewarding feeling that is. People say, well, Jeff, what did you do? How'd you do it? I was like, look, we all know what to do. You just got to do what you know, right? You got to turn your shoulds into a must. Nothing tastes as good as healthy and fit feels. Treat your body like a temple, not an amusement park, right? I mean, come on. We know what to do, what to eliminate or limit in our diet, what we put in our mouth. So I started journaling every morning. You can't manage what you don't measure. And I was like, okay, set your intent for the day. Write down everything you put into your body. And all of a sudden, it became not a should, but a must. And now you show up, you're walking the talk. Now you show up as an example, not a warning. Now you are rewarded in public for what you do in private. Now you can play at a higher level and make a bigger difference, a bigger impact in people's lives. Now you're a better version of you. It was interesting, in September we were in Canada, and this happened May, June, July, and August, this past summer. And we're in Canada in September doing an event, and I go into this men's shop. It's a quality problem because all the Fat Jeff clothes don't fit anymore, and I got to go get some new clothes. So I go in to a men's shop there in Canada, and it's beautiful clothes, and I still didn't believe it yet. And I'm trying on baggy 3X shirts, and the girls and the two ladies that were in the shop were like, that doesn't fit you. Try this. And they bring me a large or an extra large, and I put it on, and it's fitted mean, like a skinny Tony T. Like, wow. Like, whoa, look at that. And I'll show you the picture. I don't know if they got the pictures. Are the pictures up? That was me back then. That's a Boys and Girls Club event. And that's me now, right? You can see it. So all of a sudden I buy some fitted shirts. I buy some skinny jeans that actually are skinny. And I was like, wow, this is fun. There's one other picture there. No? There's my buddy Sven. He was a big influence as well, before and after. Yeah. So I share that with you for a couple. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. So I share that with you because if I can do it, you can do it. And people always say, well, Jeff, what does that have to do with the business? Everything. Because when I built my business, it was the same thing. There was a defining moment. There was a moment in time. There was a breaking point. There was a time where I hit a threshold and said, enough's enough. I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm going to step up and raise my standards, right? And that's my challenge to you. Raise your standards. So my message in closing is it's your turn now. This is your chance. This is your chance for financial independence. This is your chance to go out there and do something that counts, something that matters, something where you can make a difference. Be involved in something that's bigger than yourself. It's your turn now. In other words, there's a hero inside of all of you. And cultivate that hero and be that hero for someone else. And I got a quick audio. I don't have a video like Mel had, an opening and closing video, but I do have a song. Most of you know this song. If we could dim the lights, put the song on, and close your eyes and take it in and sing along if you'd like.